forgive us for kind of talking behind the scenes. We're comparing notes on lunch and breaks and things like that, and making sure that families are here. What I would like to do is go into the governance committee and recognize Chairman Woodson to cover those two matters, and then we are going to break for lunch and come back here to close out this commission meeting. We do have enough food given the public that's here, staff and public. Come on up the hill. We'd be tickled to death to treat you to lunch today. With that, Chairman Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And there's nothing more exciting before lunch than talking about bylaws, don't you think? One, I want to thank the chairman for the opportunity to have a pretty unique experience, because the governance committee, while the membership is listed as the members of the commission, we also had the opportunity to serve this year in the governance committee with 3 lay people as well. And I want to make sure that beyond the members of the commission who served, Monty Halcomb, Julie Schuster, and Jeff Griggs, all were very kind to dedicate a good bit of time, as we were charged by the chairman at the beginning of the year to do a couple of things. One, to modernize our current bylaws, and also to at least to give guidance to future commissions, some template or process recommendation on how we would move forward in our important responsibility of evaluating the executive director. And so I want to thank each and every one of them for their efforts. The work of the bylaws committee, I want to just give you all a sense of the activities that we went through to get to the draft that's before you for consideration. The committee has already met, publicly noticed meeting last week, met in person, had multiple opportunities to give input to the draft. We also wanted to make sure that we had as much thoughtfulness as we could get from leadership of the commission, as well as Director Carter. But our goals were pretty simple. We wanted to make sure that we could have written rules that would control the internal affairs of our commission, would also give us guidance on how we would operate and function as a commission, but making sure that while we had a functional document, we also didn't want to overly restrict the members of the commission in fulfilling our mission for both oversight of the agency as well as support of the mission of the agency. We've tried in this draft to incorporate both the statutory as well as charter responsibilities that we have for the commission into our governing document as it was appropriate. So we've used a lot of different things in that process. We use our existing bylaws, which were, as you can see, they're the black ink on your draft before you. There was not much of a there, but we wanted to use that as the basis for our recommendations. And so any changes you'll see marked in blue in the draft. We also looked at bylaws from comparable organizations around the country, bylaws that were submitted by committee members as well as members of staff and the agency. We took a great deal of feedback and discussion in in-person meetings as well as phone call meetings, and got, again, just a tremendous amount of guidance from leadership from the agency as well as Chairman Cannon, and very much appreciated all of that. So that feedback, as well as a very thorough conversation, about an hour-and-a-half call last week, finalized the draft that's before you for your consideration. I would like to say to Tracy Boyers, our attorney who supported us, as you all know, we've experienced it even this meeting, our counsel is real value add to the work that we do. Tracy's gone above and beyond the call of duty. We've spent a lot of time together, and I very much appreciate the work that she's done in this process, and just cannot thank her enough for her effort. And so with that, I'm going to move approval of the bylaws and open it up for whatever discussion you'd like to have, and answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, Chairman Woodson. We have a motion to approve the bylaws as presented, recognizing that this was approved by the committee in an earlier session. Therefore, I'm taking this in the form of a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second from Commissioner Watson. Any discussion within the commission?
I got one.
Commissioner Bledsoe.
I'd like to add an amendment, if that so pleases. In Article 2, Section C, 1F, for those of you that don't have this little piece of paper, it's the second page It reads right now, it says the chairman will serve as an ex officio member of all committees. I would like to move to strike the word ex officio and put some new language in, and the chairman will serve as a member of all committees and may vote for the purpose of breaking a tie. Because in general times, we have our committees are 6 members, because we want to be less than the quorum. So if there's a tie vote, I think the chairman should have a weigh-in vote on that. Is that please legal?
Chairman Woodson?
One, I appreciate Chairman Bledsoe, as a former chairman, noticing that. It was actually something the committee didn't discuss, but I would consider it a friendly amendment and would certainly second it if it pleases the commission.
Commissioner Bledsoe, I will receive that as an amendment. Do I have a second to that amendment? Second by Commissioner Woodson. Any discussion?
I have a question. So is your intent to have the chairman as a full voting member or a voting member in case of a tie?
In case of a tie?
Any further discussion on the amendment?
You want me to read the amendment again, or? Okay. The chairman will serve as a member of all committees and may vote for the purpose of breaking a tie.
Commission understand the amendment as presented. Any other comments? Any comments from the public or staff? Hearing none, we are voting on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment passes. We are now voting on the bylaws as amended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Bledsoe, second by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion by commission? Any discussion by staff or the public? Hearing none. All in favor of the bylaws as amended indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The bylaws as amended are approved. Thank you. Commissioner Woodson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we also were given a task of thinking about a process or potential protocol for future commissions to utilize to evaluate on an annual basis. Evaluation was required in our formal bylaws. We've tightened up that language a little bit, but haven't prescribed that process through the bylaws document. And I want to personally thank David Watson and his subcommittee of our committee for putting together what was, and I'm going to ask him to share the process that we went through, but he and Kurt Holbert and Julie Schuster spent an inordinate amount of time really trying to be thoughtful about not only giving valuable feedback to our director, but also gaining insights from other members of the agency, really understanding the roles and responsibilities, and giving an opportunity for that to be a two-way conversation so we could receive feedback on how to be a better commission. And so I just wanted to thank this chairman, Chairman Watson, and the committee for all of their work. It was a fascinating exercise, and I'd love for him to talk a little bit about the process that they went through for us to just give a first run at a protocol and a process that might be considered for future commissions.
Thank you. The committee. Okay. The committee met several times, and what we did, we were trying to decide a process because we really didn't have any guidance on how to evaluate the director. And so we started our first process. We decided to do. We interviewed 2 of the past chairs. We interviewed Jeff McMillan and Jim Bledsoe, and we interviewed the current chair, Harold Cannon. And by doing that, we just wanted to see how the working relationship was between the chairs and the executive director and all. The second thing, the step we took, we went to the assistant directors of the agency, and we interviewed Barry Summers and Bobby Wilson. And then third, we interviewed Chris Richardson. This gave us a perspective of the first 2 people had been with the agency roughly 37 years, and they had been knowing the director for probably that same amount of time. So we got one perspective of people being here very long, working with the director, and then with Chris Richardson being here for 4 years, he gave us another perspective of working in a short period of time. And all. We took all that in consideration, and then we went to the director and we asked him this. The committee asked the director for the 3 major problems he sees facing the agency. The second thing we asked for the future goals that he sees for the agency. Then the committee asked the director what he considers his 3 major accomplishments during his tenure. And then we came back and we asked the director for the boards, committees, and organizations he belonged to. And then finally, the committee asked the director, how can we improve the communication between the director and the agency and the commission? All that was done to get an insight on what the director, how he felt towards the agency and everything else. But one of the other things it gave us for future evaluations, it gave us a footprint or floor to go back next year during his evaluation. We know what problems he sees, and we can go back and address these things. Now we have something to go from. But to summarize all that, you know, as Commissioner Woodson had stated, the committee was charged with exploring and developing a process which may be used as a template for evaluation of the executive director moving forward. This initial exercise resulted in gaining valuable insight and feedback for both Director Carter and the leadership of the commission. The committee was impressed by Director Carter's strong working relationship with both the senior team of the agency and the leadership of the commission, as well as his service beyond the agency to over 10 regional and national boards, commissions, and organizations. We also discussed 2 areas of improvement were identified: accessibility and handling of conflicts in a timely manner. The end results, in my layman terms, is that we're very fortunate to have Director Carter as our executive director. You do an outstanding job, and we appreciate you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Watson. And Mr. Chairman, we're not required, nor am I proposing today that we take action. But I do want to thank the committee for their work. I think it was a very valuable exercise, and I personally want to thank Director Carter. I mean, to have his, last night was a perfect example of things that you can't capture in an evaluation process. Just the heart, the creativity, the obvious love of the people within the agency, the mission of the agency, and it's much more than a job to Director Carter. And it was a wonderful opportunity for us to listen and give feedback as well, but I think most importantly, begin the process of that relationship where we're sharing information, we're staying in touch, and it's one that previous chairmen have had very much a solid but informal relationship, and we're playing this out. And I very much appreciate the work of the committee, and particularly Director Carter for his contributions to that process in a meaningful way, not just sharing the information, but helping us work to get that right, and we'll continue to evolve it over time.
Chairman Woodson, thank you. Are there any comments from the commission?
I'd like to say something.
Is it about seasons or?
No, it's about Director Carter. I was fortunate enough my very first meeting was Director Carter's first meeting, and so I've been to all but 2 that he was here. In fact, I think you've missed more than I have in the last 8 years personally. But there's not a finer man, and there's not a finer person that could be leading this agency. And I think with the work that y'all did to define what we have to have in the future when Director Carter decides to step down has been phenomenal, and I appreciate the effort. And just my relationship I have with Director Carter is something I'll always be treasure, and I hope we'll end up being friends forever. But this agency is so lucky to have had him be picked to lead us, and I'm just very proud to be part of it.
Thank you, Chairman Woodson. I do have something to say about Director Carter's selection of pictures for certain events, but we won't get into that at this meeting. I'm gonna speak to Jamie. Jamie, your leadership on that governance committee, was beyond measure. These two items don't seem all that glamorous as opposed to getting into hunting seasons and fishing limits and things like that. But this is the foundation of what this commission will operate off of. This is the foundation for the next 5 who come here. They know the rules and will know them better than we will. And it just takes a lot of guesswork and assumptions out of the equation. Commissioner Watson, what you did to set up this format and quarterbacking it has been needed for a long time. So thank you. So to this committee, it's not very glamorous, but it's probably one of the more important things that could have been done in this year, and I personally thank you for that. I also thank our legal staff. The TV doesn't show it, but I have Tracy and I have Cheryl on the front row, and that was at my personal request when I began this venture to keep me from screwing up. And they have guided us, all of us, well, whether it's at the committee level or during the commission meetings. You don't hear much about them. They don't want to be heard about. They want to do their job. By golly, they do it the best. And you have taken great care of us. So ladies, thank you so much. We could not do what we do without you folks, and I really mean that. With that, we are going to break for lunch. Director Carter.
First of all, thank you very much for the very kind words. It's been a pleasure working with everybody on the commission, and the support, I could not have asked for more. And I could go on and on, but anyway, thank you for all that. The second thing is, regardless of what I told the staff 30 minutes ago, everybody is invited for lunch.
Can you say sucking up? Excuse me. Yes, sir.
Can I say one thing, Eric?
Absolutely.
I think Dr. McMillan's family's gonna have to leave, after lunch. Debbie says they're leaving, so I told her I was gonna embarrass her if they did. But anyway, I just want them to know, firsthand how good of a husband and how good of a father you guys have. Truly been a bless, for him to be part of this commission. And I'll save some of that for later, but I just want y'all to be able to hear that. Never a trip goes by that he's not talking about Bart or Sarah or Debbie or Colt he is super proud of his family. Always got you guys on his heart. His future daughter-in-law, he's very proud to have you. And I just want you guys to know that.
I'm going to echo that, and I'm also going to say that he has a fantastic sense of humor, and I'll always value him as one of my friends. Just a great guy to work with, smart, dedicated. You're very fortunate.
Do you all have to leave? Around, what time do you have to leave, Debbie? I don't want to mess you all up.
What we're supposed to.
If you all could stay, we could shorten our lunch and you could stay. We have some other family members that we wanted to, they got caught in traffic. We're wanting them to get here too. Does that work for you all? Okay. Jamie, would you read the bylaws just through so we can kind of have that for the.
Don't like to discuss woodcock.
Let's do this. We're going to break for lunch, and we will reconvene no later than 12. Will that work for you? And we'll immediately go into the nominating committee. We have one more committee report, the HBC committee, and then some closing remarks. How would that be? Is that all right? It should go fairly promptly. If that works for you all, I want to be sensitive to your schedule. Is that okay?
It's probably gonna save you money if they will stay, because I know they're going to go spend money somewhere.
It's really going to be a cold night for you, Dr. McMillan, but that's another story. We are going to recess until 12 o'clock. Come on up the top of the hill for lunch. Thank you so much.